Welcome back to Dice to Pixels. Nvidia got raided, Sony got hacked, and Epic Games seems to be failing. Let's check it out. So, Nvidia got raided. Like raided in France.
Yeah.
Raids, hackings, and layoffs. Oh my.
Yeah, right? So France is weird about this stuff. They're like super, anything that could be construed as like anti-competitive, they are like crazy serious about. So Nvidia's France office is like straight up like SWAT type raid over suspected anti-competitive practices, which is like crazy. It's centered around their the cloud AI chip stuff. So like the broad accusation, I don't even know that I'd call it an accusation yet. The suspicion is that they're either giving unfavorable terms or not allowing smaller shops to the same level of access to their system, their H100 chips, that they are to larger whatever firms.
Yeah.
And apparently that's enough in France to get you like swatted.
That is insane.
Yeah, the press release.
It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, the press release here by and I'm going to butcher this, so I'm sorry to our friends in France. The Hôtel de la Concurrence,
something like that.
Cool. Yeah. They said, quote, carried out a dawn raid at the premises of a company suspected of having implemented anti-competitive practices in the graphics card sector.
A dawn raid.
Yeah.
When it was completely empty of most employees.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, the thing is they're only looking for documents, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I saw that and I'm like, wait, like, actually? Yes, actually. They straight up got raided.
Well, it feels like overkill.
It kind of does, doesn't it? Yeah. So, anyways, that's, we don't have a lot more information than that. It's just it's a funny thing. Well, okay, I'm sure it's not funny to people that work there, but it's amusing to us who don't have any stake in the matter. And then the big one, I think, well, there's two big ones. There's two other big ones. Like Epic just announced they're cutting 16% of their workforce, totaling somewhere
830 employees.
Yeah, I was going to say I saw 800 and I saw 900, so it's somewhere between there. Yeah. Basically, they said they couldn't be profitable.
Yeah, a cost-cutting measure. Like, I don't understand that though, because like, I mean, this is from the company that, you know, they have Fortnite, man.
Well, so this coincided with them also increasing the cost of the Fortnite currency too. So I mean, I get it. I've never thought that they ran their ship very well, and it doesn't shock me that they're having trouble with profitability, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they make lots of money. That doesn't mean they actually keep lots of money.
Yes, it doesn't mean they know how to use it well.
Yeah, like the Epic Game Store has never. I'm sure that cost massive amounts of money to, maybe not to run. Like, I don't know how expensive it would be to run. The free games can't be cheap.
No. And those have been some pretty good games too that have been free.
Yeah, like I'm guessing they're pouring a lot of money into that. And then just building out the Epic Game Store in the beginning is like, that's going to be expensive. So it doesn't shock me at all that they're having trouble with profitability.
Well, especially with the Epic Game Store too, because it feels like Steam has such a stranglehold on PC gaming and all the games that you can get on Epic. As far as I know, not everything, like all of their homemade stuff, I don't think you can necessarily get on Steam, but a lot of stuff you can already get on Steam. So why would you set up an account for another place?
Pretty much everything. Yeah. I mean, they tried to lure people in with the free games.
Yeah.
Hello, Scooter. And
like good old games proved that you can be sort of competitive with Steam in the same. I mean, they're not competitive. GOG is not competitive with Steam, but it exists, and it exists, to my knowledge, profitably in the same sort of space. I think the problem is like GOG is like, hey, we'll let you access games that you just can't get elsewhere. Like I just bought Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri on it because it was available. Yeah, you can't get it on Steam. Yeah, you can't get it anywhere else. Epic's whole thing was like, well, you can get our games. It's like, yeah, okay, Cool. Do I need a whole separate game store for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
So
The only game that I'm really interested in that's an Epic Game Store game is Battle Breakers, and the only place I want to play that is on my phone, but I can no longer do that.
I actually think
Yeah.
they. I don't think it's Battle Breakers is up anymore.
Wow, what the hell?
Yeah. So something weird is happening because I saw that happened, and then EA just unlisted a bunch of games. I think it was EA just unlisted like 10 games, like without any notice or anything else. I don't know if it's somehow related to the Unity stuff or I don't know. Yeah, but something is afoot, I think.
Yeah, Sega even.
Yeah.
I read
They
an article there.
canceled some
Sega
stuff.
canceled a bunch of stuff too
Yeah,
that was either announced or in the works.
Well, one of them was basically done.
Yeah.
I forget which one it was, but one of them was like scheduled for release, like ready to go, basically, is my understanding. Remember when I was talking about, like, I don't know if it's Unity, I didn't look into it. But remember I was talking, like, even if you're ready to click upload, it felt like that.
It
It,
was
felt like they were canceling
First
it at that
person
stage.
shooter called Hyenas by Creative Assembly.
Yeah.
That seemed to be the big one that was canceled, but they also said that there was a few other projects that were.
There were at least 3. I think it was 3, but there were at least 3.
Yeah. And even there was some Sony's basically removed any trace of the Knights of the Old Republic remake as well.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people are speculating that maybe it was possibly canceled. They actually have a report here. There's an update. Spokesperson for Sony sent Kotaku a statement regarding the delisted Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic reveal trailer, stating it was due to licensing issues. And they said, quote, as part of normal business, we delist assets with licensed music when the licenses expire. So,
Okay, say hello now, Scooter. Now you're shy.
no, it's purring. She was
She was
purring into
purring.
it.
That was Scooter. That was the cat you were hearing in the background.
She has opinions.
Yeah. So I mean, that's fair-ish. I mean, it's weird that they couldn't just deal with that, but whatever. Oh, it's very old. I'm not shocked that they delisted it. The new one being erased from like memory hold was more interesting, but who knows why that happened.
Yeah, EA, they delisted basically all of their FIFA titles because they don't have the FIFA license. They don't have that license anymore.
That's a big one.
Like 19, 20, 21, and 22 were delisted from Steam, PlayStation, Microsoft, and Nintendo eShop.
Yeah, that's a pretty big one, eh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The other big one for Sony is that they got hacked so goddamn hard. Yeah. Apparently, supposedly, basically every server and service within Sony pretty much got compromised, which is, and they won't tell anyone what actually got stolen. So like people are like, do I need to change my credit card and stuff? Like,
didn't they? I feel like the last time they were hacked, they didn't tell people either.
They're dicks.
Yeah.
So Sony is a bunch of assholes.
But then also last time they also gave everybody a bunch of free shit and store credit as well. So
to try and make people forget about it, which apparently they did.
Yeah.
So Sony got like the mother of all hacks. Unfortunately, we don't have a huge amount of information on it because they won't say anything.
No.
And of course, like the hackers have said some like very broad stuff, but they're not going to be super specific. And you can only trust them so far anyways, because I mean, they're hackers.
Yeah.
They're they maybe or maybe not hackers. For all I know, they fucking some dipshit used the same password for everything.
I wonder though. So I have a for people that don't know, which is basically everyone out there. I have a short history in working in health privacy.
Oh, I knew
in
that.
The hospital. Yeah, you knew that. Yes,
I knew that.
Yeah, you were there for that.
Yeah, I was there.
Thank you. But I know, so I can't speak to what the general over like FIPA is because I worked within PHIPA, but with the Personal Health Information Privacy Act in Ontario, if there is a privacy breach outside of Ontario, like even in the States, but it contains Ontario resident information, they still have to.
Yep.
So I'm wondering, even with the Sony stuff, if that would fall in line with.
No, they're not medical, so they don't have any.
Well, obviously not in with PHIPA, but with any of our Canadian privacy laws.
No, we don't have any privacy laws outside of healthcare.
Not very good ones. Yeah,
I mean that nearly
Yeah.
like even in the financial sector, we have
Yeah, no,
very
the
low.
financial sector is absolute trash. But
So yeah, I don't think they have to say anything. I don't expect them to say
That's
anything.
shit.
The group
It's
that
pretty
hacked
stupid.
them?
No,
Sony.
Oh,
Sony.
Sony.
Yeah, Sony would be responsible if
Yeah.
it was health information.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the-
no, there's I don't think there's any laws that they're gonna run into on that.
Yeah, the group that hacked them are known as ransom.vc. They've claimed to have breached Sony's systems and accessed an unknown quantity of data, and they quoted as saying, "We have successfully compromised all of Sony's systems. We won't ransom them. We will sell the data due to Sony not wanting to pay. Data is for sale. We are selling it." It's like,
Yep.
Cool, dude.
I mean, if they actually have what they say they have,
That's huge.
somebody will buy it.
Mhm.
More than one person will buy it. So, don't buy Sony stuff.
Yeah.
That's a shame this isn't like an Xbox leak, like we didn't get any like a big Sony leak or some shit,
So it's funny because on TwitX, there was
Twix.
Twix.
some
Tweaks or Twix.
Twix.
Like,
Yeah.
you can't call it that.
There was some dipshits who were like, "Oh yeah, everybody's talking about the Sony hack, but nobody's talking about the fact that Microsoft got hacked too." It's like, yeah, there were two Microsoft workstations that got hacked, and those individuals' information, as well as like some private Slack chats, got like exposed. And it's like that's a bit different than like the entirety of their source code and like personal information and everything. It's like these are different things. But yeah, the Microsoft leaks last week were pretty epic.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know. And it's like I said, usually happens that way where something will happen to one and then it's quickly followed by something. So I imagine next week we'll have some Nintendo news.
Yeah, it'll be that they're overcharging for another game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually, so
ahead, sir.
just to kind of jump off of that, I think we were having to talk about that earlier. Was it Capcom you have said that games aren't...
Yeah, Capcom has lost their fucking minds.
'cause we were talking about that at work today, me and a couple of friends, and just how like the
So-
increase in...
Sorry, what was it that Capcom said?
Games aren't cheap.
Games aren't-
Games are too cheap.
Okay,
Yeah.
there we go.
like a $79 to $89 game is too cheap. It's like, okay, dude.
Uh-huh.
But I brought it. It was a discussion point at work today where we had said, because somebody was talking about how they wanted Starfield, and I told them it's like $79, $89 game. I said it's expensive, and then they brought up Baldur's Gate 3 on PlayStation 5, and in Canada it's like $93 or something to buy the game on PlayStation.
Yeah.
And that got into the whole like, oh well, I remember and blah blah blah, and I remember when games cost this much. So I'm an old bastard, and I'm going to get into that because the point I brought up was I remember when like the Nintendo cartridges and the Super Nintendo cartridges, they were like almost $100
Mm-hmm.
to buy. But then when the PlayStation 1 came around and everything was on compact disc, I remember buying PlayStation games for like $30.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, because Nintendo games were actually expensive because they were like cartridges.
Yeah.
They cost something to make.
Yep.
And shipping things wasn't as cheap back in the day as it is now.
No.
And, $90 for a digital download game is
It's ridiculous.
well, okay. Whether it's ridiculous or not, I don't have an answer for off the top of my head because inflation has gone absolute fucking nuts the last couple of years. So it's actually possible that now that price is actually legitimate.
Mhm.
But saying it's cheap, give me a fucking break.
Yeah.
It may be in line now that inflation has doubled the price of everything in the last like year or so, 2 years, but saying it's cheap is fucking nonsense.
Mhm. Well, it goes,
Capcom are just a bunch of greedy dumb fucks. Like,
yeah.
screw them.
I don't.
I haven't bought a Capcom game in years.
Resident Evil, the Resident Evil remakes, or no, Village. Village was the last one I got.
Oh, actually, that's a lie. I did buy a copy of Resident Evil 2, not the remake, just Resident Evil 2. So they got like $5 of my money or whatever it was.
It's just too cheap.
Yeah, maybe that's what they meant.
Yeah. So I look at a lot of things like with value in games and stuff like that is like the amount of time you put into a game depending on the like how much you pay for it. That's why like I find these like live service games. And we've talked about Tibia and we've talked about Destiny like to the cows come home. I can't really put a monetary value on that because you were always paying for like a new season or a new, well, not in Tibia, but for Destiny, like a new season or a season pass or a new expansion or whatever like that. For like complete games, you know, something like well, Sea of Stars, right? Ghost of Tsushima. I bought those games, you know, I think Sea of Stars was $49 or something.
Something like that, yeah.
And well, it was on Game Pass too, but I mean, I bought it anyway because it's whatever. And I think I got my money's worth out of that.
Yep.
So
the problem with studios these days, and we were talking about not quite this, but in the same vicinity of this earlier. A lot of studios have this real like mind virus going on where they think that games are worth the value of a game is tied to how much time they spent on it, like how much money they spent building it. It's like, no. Games are value games. Whether you can trick people into buying them or not is irrelevant. Games' actual value is based on how much fun they are. I don't care that you spent 1 million hours paying fucking $200 million for voice acting and everything else. That doesn't make the game good. That doesn't make the game worth anything. It just means you spent a lot of money on stupid shit. Make a good game and people will pay for it, whether it's, you know, AAA or whatever.
Vampire Survivors.
Right. Now, there is a level at which the amount that is spent on a game needs to be reflected in the price, and that's fine. But this happened with Starfield, right? Like Bethesda thinks that it's a $90 game or whatever it is. It's like, no, it should be priced basically the same as Skyrim because it's basically the same fucking game.
Yeah.
I don't care that you paid, you know, hundreds of artists millions of dollars to do this because it's not that much. I mean, if it weren't on Game Pass, I wouldn't have played it at all. So,
Yep.
There's a real problem with game studios, and movie studios are doing the same shit. They're like, well, we spent a lot on it, so it has to be good. It's like, no, dumbass. That's not how it works.
No.
You can spend a lot of money on a piece of shit. So that's infected most of the AAA studios, unfortunately.
It's been like that from God. And again, it's another thing we've talked about before about being burned with AAA releases and stuff. But I find
it's getting worse every year. Like it's been that way. You're right for quite a while, but it's getting worse every year.
That's why I still firmly think that this, like Sony's first party offerings are usually 95% of the time really quality, like really good high quality games.
They're the best of the large studios. I think that's because of the way that they operate though. Like Sony Studio is not like, when they build a new game, it's not like, oh, this is from Sony Studios. I mean, it is, but it's like we got together the right people for this task. It's like we have a big pool of people that we can pull from, and we're working on multiple things at any given time. Whereas like a company like Bethesda is like, no, we're working on our next game, period. We're working on one game. That's it. That's what we do. And then they accidentally remake the same game they already made. Whereas Sony's like, they're working on different stuff. They've got different teams doing stuff. They're moving people around between projects. So they don't get locked into that mindset of like, well, we just need to spend more on our next game. It's like, no, let's make something new. Let's make something interesting. Yeah. Except for Final Fantasy, which is always the same game. I'm kidding, by the way.
Obviously, people enjoy that same game.
Well, it's also like as much as I'm only partially joking. Obviously, it is very similar from you know, iteration to iteration, but I also recognize that there are substantial differences, and they try new mechanics and everything. Like even within a game like that is ostensibly the same game, they're still trying new things.
Yeah.
That's one of the big selling points with any Final Fantasy series is that they always try a new like combat system or battle system or something. There's always something new to like Final Fantasy VI, there was like individual characters that had individual like abilities, whereas in 5 they introduced like the job system where you could assign a character as like, okay, you're a white mage, okay, no, you're the red mage now, no, you're a fighter. But
Yeah. They're at least trying.
Yeah.
They're trying new things
Yeah.
every time, and sometimes they land, sometimes they don't, but they're always trying something.
Yeah.
And they seem to learn from
Right.
what does and does not work.
Yeah.
And that's why it's been successful for so long.
I mean, Final Fantasy 16 is probably the least Final Fantasy like game I've ever played. Like it's to me it's more like a Devil May Cry like hack and slash kind of action RPG as opposed to the traditional like Final Fantasy. Even 15 was kind of the same too, where you were mostly running around and doing hack and slash stuff, and there was no like bump into an enemy and the screen changes and you're in like a combat area with turn-based battles and all that stuff.
Wasn't the Final Fantasy VII remake a little bit like that then too?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, because it was 16 was based a lot off of
part 1 of the 8,000 part Final Fantasy VII remake that isn't a remake. But yeah.
It's a rebirth.
It's fucking stupid is what it is. So on the note of Sony, Jim Ryan is leaving, which nobody cares.
I don't even know who that is.
He's the
head of PlayStation.
president and CEO.
Okay, cool. I don't
Yeah,
care.
right. Like who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
But it's big news apparently. I guess somebody cares. He probably cares. The person that's replacing him probably cares.
Yeah.
I can't imagine why I would care.
Yeah.
There's nothing that he's done that like there's nothing that I'm aware of, and maybe this is because I'm a Sony Luddite. I don't know, but there's nothing that I can point to be like, oh, that's what Jim Ryan's bringing. It's not like Johnny Ive with Apple, where it's like, oh, him leaving is a big deal.
Yeah.
Jim Ryan's like, okay, cool. So another paper pusher will take his place. Who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
But apparently that's big news. So I thought I'd bring it up.
Yeah, I guess there was a lot of reaction to some gamers on Twitter were quite pleased that he was calling it a career.
Sure, and there's always going to be that. Like, I mean, people will always assign blame to him, whether he deserves it or not, I don't know. But, like, I don't know. He doesn't seem like he's ever really done anything particularly remarkable. He ran the company successfully for a long time, so good on him, good job. But the next person will probably do that too. So
yeah, because even like I was part of the article there is that he's stepping down amidst like booming PS5 sales.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, I mean, okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's done a good job.
Yeah,
but I'm sure the next person will too, because like all you need in that position, from what I can tell at least, is an effective paper pusher. I'm sure they can find one.
Oh yeah,
like that's not. You don't need a visionary.
Maybe that guy from Unity will be looking for a job soon.
Yeah, let's hope not.
God, please no.
So the other thing that I wanted to bring up, because it makes me a little worried, is the EA anti-cheat stuff.
Yes.
So for anyone who doesn't know, EA has said that they are going to start building their own anti-cheat software. Yay!
Because they have such a positive track record.
Right. They're talking about like, oh, my favorite thing from them was, I'm not quite quoting this directly, I don't have it in front of me or anything, but it was basically, yes, this is going to be running kernel level on your system, but you can trust the quality of our software. And it's like, the fuck I can.
I think this is it. Quote, unfortunately, the last few years have seen a large increase in cheats and cheat techniques operating in kernel mode. So the only reliable way to detect and block these is to continue to have our anti-cheat operate there as well.
Yeah, it's further in the quote, but it doesn't matter. It basically, they're talking about, oh, you can trust our software. It's like, no, we fucking can't. Go home. So I mean, to be clear, like all pretty much anti-cheat software runs kernel level. That in and of itself is not surprising. It's just like, do you really want to be running EA fucking software on? I don't. So starting with Battlefield 2024, there's going to be a whole bunch more systems in the botnets, because I guarantee they will fuck it up. But I would put money on it.
Yeah, I don't think many people, because that Battlefield entry is one of the least popular ones.
Well, it's not out yet.
2042?
No, 2024.
Oh, 2024. I thought you said, okay.
No, yeah, the new one, the one that's coming out next year. That's the first game this is going to be included in.
Yeah.
and there will be some horrible security flaw, and it will like cause people's systems to get botnetted, and EA will be, we're sorry.
We're sorry.
Yeah, it's gonna be an absolute shit show. So good on you, EA.
Yeah, another shit show too, the Payday 3. I was really looking forward to playing that, you know.
Yeah.
It's on Game Pass day one.
Well, you might still get a chance.
Yeah, well, I'm going to, but I haven't, just because the servers have been complete dog shit.
Yeah. Well, the matchmaking and everything is just completely broken.
Yeah, and now there's talk of an offline mode, which was in the other 2 fucking games anyway.
All games should have offline. Well, okay, all except for like MMOs should have offline modes.
I even think MMOs could have an offline mode if it's like just kind of like a main quest thing.
It depends on the MMO.
Depends on the
Yeah.
Like World of Warcraft is not going to have an
No.
offline mode.
No.
Diablo 4 needed to only have an offline mode.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I do hope that they add the offline mode, and I hope that it makes it playable, because Payday 3 is garbage.
Yeah,
Like it's actually garbage.
Yeah. And like there's a friend at work that, you know, wants to get me in there to roll with this stuff, and like, okay, yeah, I 100% will. I just want the fucking game to be like serviceable.
Yeah, it's like, okay, cool, I'm in, except like it's not playable. Like it's not that it's a bad game, it's that it's not playable. It's garbage. It's not fit for purpose.
Yeah.
So
why would they release it as it is now?
Because game studios have stopped even trying to release quality products.
I also think the fact that it's on Game Pass has a lot to do with it as well.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that's kind of it's increased load on the servers just because there's more people.
Sure, but as if they couldn't have fucking predicted that. Like,
but nobody does.
No one does
Even
accurately.
I didn't say they did.
No,
I said
know.
they could.
But like I look at whenever Destiny has a new expansion come out, and every fucking time.
I mean, World
World
of Warcraft is still fucking doing that.
Yeah. Same thing.
Game studios major game studios have just given up on quality. They're just like, fuck it. People will buy whatever we shove down their throat. And people still do.
That's why smaller studios and indies are the way to go now.
And for the record, if you're like, oh, Adrian, stop being holier than thou, fuck you. I bought 2 copies of Diablo 4. I'm just as fucking bad for it. I'm just saying, we're all assholes.
Yep.
Yep.
Indie game studios. Like we were talking about it earlier, and I'm basically done with major game studios, except Rockstar. Rockstar has not done me dirty yet, so I'll buy GTA 6 probably.
Well, you didn't enjoy Red Dead 2.
Yeah, okay, but lots of people did.
Did or did not?
Did.
Enjoy it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Like, okay, so like Red Dead, the reasons that I didn't like Red Dead were because I don't like story games.
Sure. Yeah.
GTA 6 won't be a story game.
No.
So it's okay.
There'll be a story, you just won't pay attention to it, and you'll just go GTA Online.
Exactly. If they take that away, if they take away the ability to just go and find the quickest and easiest to get bazooka and start killing people, then I will hate GTA 6. But I don't think they'll take that away.
You really should play Just Cause or something.
Oh, I have. Yeah, it's all right. Yeah. But the thing is, there are also other games that you can just murder people senselessly in.
Yeah.
So, GTA has just always been a really good, like, to me, it's the purest form of sandbox game to
I agree.
other than Minecraft, which is truly the purest form of sandbox. I've always had a soft spot for GTA. It's such a good series, and every time it's like, hey, it's a new GTA game. What's it like? Well, it's a new GTA game. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's all I need to know.
Yeah. Saints Row was like that. Then they made the fucking remake.
Yeah.
Which thankfully was a PS Plus game, so now it's, it was free, but we still bought it when it came out.
Yeah.
But
It's still obscenely expensive on Steam. I just noticed it today, and I was just like, why?
Yeah.
It was like $75 still.
It's wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nope.
Well,
no,
there's a new one on Game Pass. Speaking of indie games, it's made by Jep Carlson. He was the lead gameplay designer of Inside and Limbo. It's called Cocoon, and it's on Game Pass right now. The closest comparison I can make with this game is if you ever played Death's Door, kind of like that top-down isometric Zelda, or actually it's more of a Diablo kind of perspective. the top-down
Mhm.
isometric, whatever. But visually, it reminds me a lot of Death's Door. It looks, it's got like these puzzle platform elements, some really, really cool, like neat little boss fights. It's on Game Pass right now. I'd highly recommend it. I'm looking forward to diving into it this weekend some more.
Yeah, I might check it out.
Yeah.
I'm going to be pretty busy with other stuff this weekend, but I might check it out next week. In theory, shortly after this is live, shortly after the premiere, we'll say right after the premiere, few minutes, I'm going to be live playing some Starfield and just hanging out. I think I'm going to have to restart Starfield though, because I couldn't find my save from before I power leveled and went through like the NG9 stuff. So I think I have to restart and just do it from start to finish. So I think I may be starting a new streaming series of me beating Starfield.
There you go.
Which is fine. I'm not against that. So in theory, right after this premieres, I will be doing that. And I'll be streaming periodically doing Starfield. And then something else after that. But,
cool.
And I'll be doing it with some mods because
Yeah.
it turns out that on PC, Starfield cannot suck if you add a bunch of mods.
Imagine that.
Yeah, like there's a lot of mods that are like just what you would expect from mods, but then there's a lot of shit that's like fixing the menus and fixing the animations, that like speeding up the fucking airlock animations so it doesn't take 20 minutes to get in and out of a building. Being able to craft ammo, just like all kinds of things.
Mhm.
Like, yes, please, I want that. So I'm gonna look tomorrow morning at some mods and load up a few good ones and run through Starfield in a less annoying way.
That was actually the other thing that annoyed me about Starfield is the different types of fucking ammo in the game is insanely ridiculous.
It's annoying.
Like,
Yeah.
It would be nice when you're looking at the weapons, if on the weapon description itself, it shows you exactly how much of that ammo type you have already, so you don't have to flip back and forth.
It does if you hotkey it. If you have it like on the console, it's your D-pad, and when you hover over it, it gives you like the total amount of rounds that you have.
But
yeah,
you've
but I
gotta
want to see it in the menu.
You've got to
itself.
exit the shop menu to get there. Like, you can find it out, but it's a pain in the ass. And then the worst part was the first time I was playing it through, there was like a good, I don't know, 6 or 7 hours in game, I'm going to say, where I was looking for ammo, and I was looking and I was looking and I was looking. I'm like, nobody sells this ammo. But I keep picking it up somewhere and I can't figure out what the fuck's. Problem is, the weapon didn't call it caseless ammo, but it turns out I wanted the caseless ammo. It was like 7.77 caseless was what it was in the shop. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
And then like turns out it's like one of the most common fucking ammos in the game. But the weapon said it took like I forget if it was 7.7, but it said it like took like 7.7, but it's actually 7.7 caseless.
That is a huge fucking oversight.
When I find out, I'm like, you fucking assholes. So anyways, yeah, the entirety of the menu system in that game is just atrociously bad.
Yeah.
But there's mods that fix all of that. Like there's a mod that makes it so that the shop thing is like, oh, here, this ammo is for this weapon that you have equipped. Or like this ammo takes all of these, which the shop has in stock and you can buy right now. And all of the things that Bethesda could have been working on instead of fucking more voice actors. I'm so done with fucking voice actors and everything. Like, I get it. They can make certain elements of a game more immersive and everything else. But I'm like, finish your fucking game, then hire voice actors.
Starfield's turning into our Sony, I think.
Oh my God.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, because Sony's been quiet and not as stupid lately, so we got to.
Well, except for getting massively hacked.
Yeah,
well, yeah. Well, that wasn't a decision they made themselves.
No, well, presumably not.
No.
I'm sick and tired of Xbox getting all of these hacks. I need somebody to hack us.
Look, I'm just saying that the original PS4 jailbreak was because they didn't actually implement a random number generator, and it just always returned the same number. So when I say they maybe didn't choose it themselves, who knows? Maybe their security all relied on the same password for all I fucking know. I don't know. They're not the best at security, but yeah, Starfield has some serious issues, but fortunately on the PC at least, the modding community has been hard at work. So they're doing all kinds of stuff. And I was actually happy to, just on the Starfield note, the DLSS technology that I was talking about last week that's coming to Cyberpunk is also coming to Starfield, which is nice because I wanted to take a look at it, but I didn't really want to get into Cyberpunk to do it. I may still get into Cyberpunk, but I didn't want to have to get into it just to test that out.
Yeah, their Phantom Liberty DLC just released too for Cyberpunk, so I'm kind of leaning towards playing that.
Yeah.
I've tried to get into it a couple times now, and I think it was the same as Starfield. I had a hard time getting into that until I actually just got a few missions in, and then I was like, okay, now I'm rolling.
Yeah.
But if I end up really getting into Cocoon, that might delay my Cyberpunk adventure.
Yeah. I was pretty tempted for a minute there because Good Old Games offered me the I don't know how much of this was actually new member, but they offered me an extra discount because I was a new member, because I actually hadn't signed up for Good Old Games until Alpha Centauri. They were like, we'll give you Phantom of Liberty and the base game for like $80. And I'm like, that actually looks like a pretty good price. But at the same time, I'm still like, I don't know. I'm sure it's good. Like, it looks good and everything, but I'm like, I like to space out my RPGs.
Yeah.
and I'm just getting through Starfield now, so I don't think I'm ready to jump into another one just yet.
It's funny that you mentioned, because even on Xbox there's a deal right now, same thing, and it's like $83 Canadian.
Yeah. So. Okay, so it wasn't that much of a deal. Yeah. I'm not surprised, but they made it sound like a deal. But yeah, I'll check it out eventually, I'm sure, but I don't think it's going to be right now. I think it's going to be a future thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Because like I say, I like to space out, though. I can only do so much story mode. That said, I will say the Starfield story, I liked. The main storyline is good. They still too long, as all games are, but there's too much dithering about and not getting to the point.
Yeah.
Fetch questing and bullshit. Yep. But the actual story was great.
Yeah. So, sorry, the Cyberpunk bundle on Steam is $80.94
there you
Canadian
go.
as well.
There you go.
They lied to you, man.
Well, so in fairness, they said that it was on sale. There was the bundle, and then there was the separate thing, which was a discount on Cyberpunk directly. So it was probably one of those, like, yes, if I were to just buy Cyberpunk, that's a better deal, but the bundle is as cheap. So
yeah.
Anywho,
yeah,
everybody does that shit. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned too that City Skylines 2 has been delayed
just on the consoles.
Just on consoles.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to check it out on PC because I don't like that kind of game on console anyways. Any sort of builder game, I'm like, give me a break. Although, actually, maybe it's one... Well, no, because it's not coming out until later. At some point, I still need to test. I have never... Even though I know in theory you can do this, I have never actually tried just using a keyboard and mouse on the Xbox. I got to try it at some point because... Well, yeah, no, Sarah said she did it with Final Fantasy, and I know it works in theory, but I don't know if it works for like all games or if it's just some. Or so I was gonna try it with Starfield and just see if it's even see if it makes it playable because I can't play Starfield.
You still have 30 frames per second frame rate.
Sure, and I'm not going to play it on the Xbox because I have a good gaming PC. But I mean, it would be good to know if there's a game that comes out on Game Pass for just the console and not PC. It would be nice to know if like I can't do that sort of game on console. It's too slow. I can't do it. Like the controls are too slow. But it'd be nice to know that I have that opportunity in the future. And so I'm going to try it out at some point. But
hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other thing I had on my list was the Elder Scrolls Stealth Drop.
Oh yeah.
On Android.
On Android, yeah. So Bethesda released the new Elder Scrolls on Android. So you can imagine it's not really an Elder Scrolls game.
No.
Elder Scrolls Castles.
Yeah, it's been described nominally as like a Fallout Shelter meets Skyrim sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's in beta right now, so you can only get it on Android because you have to like download the APK. But I'm guessing it's coming soon to iOS as well. Like this is a pre-release, so presumably, whatever, couple weeks or.
It looks kind of nice, like in terms of how like its actual visuals look pretty nice.
Yeah, no, I'll probably play it.
Yeah.
Like it looks kind of cool. It's just it's not. When you say an Elder Scrolls game got released, that's not what you think.
Yeah.
So, but it is out. Well, sort of out. It's partly out and will be more out. So,
cool.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You found some knitted video game-ish swag.
Yes.
Miss Sarah.
I may or may not just kind of like Stardew Valley, as people may know. Yeah. But someone had made patterns for each of the seasons for socks, and they're all like got like the environments and then some of the crops you can harvest and things that you can pick up and everything. And so I picked up the patterns for all 4 seasons, and now I'm trying to find yarn duplicates because the things that they have on a website called Knitpicks where they have the kits are ridiculously expensive, and I refuse to pay that much for them. So I mean, the shipping is also really, really bad because it's an American company, but yeah, I'm looking forward to making some Stardew Valley socks at some point.
And then she's going to have a Stardew sock drawer.
Yep.
Why not?
Yeah.
I'm not going to knit anything video game related.
It's your loss.
Yeah, I assume that comes as a massive surprise to everybody. It
really does.
But I'm not that much of a knitter.
Did I ever tell you that I actually designed a Dungeons and Dragons cowl?
No.
Yeah, I designed a knit cowl, and it was published 2 years ago on a website called Knitty.
Go get it right now.
Yeah.
It's only $800.49.
Yes, minus $800.49.
Oh, okay.
It's a free pattern, but
wow.
Yeah, I designed a pattern, and it was published, and it was very exciting.
That is actually pretty cool. That's awesome. Maybe I'll see if Danielle wants to knit me one.
Actually, doesn't. I can't remember if you've seen it when we were in a previous life.
Yeah, I almost think that I did.
It was
the blue thing with the teeth.
Yeah, it's like
it was cute.
It was this color. Yeah, it was based off of the Zorn monster.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, it wasn't cute in that like it wasn't like so much cutesy, but that's my term for everything that's cool.
Yeah,
it's cute. Yeah. I'm working on some new some woodworking stuff. I got the CNC mostly running, so I'm gonna be. Hopefully very soon I'm going to be cranking out a couple like dice chests and stuff for funds. Someday they will still be for sale. I'm actually probably going back to work in the near future, so that's thrown a bit of a wrench into that plan, but I am still going to offer some stuff for sale through Dice to Pixels. I just haven't figured out all of the details yet, so I'll keep people posted as that evolves. Oh, that was Pizza Hut thanking me for our order. Oh. A little late to the party.
So nice of them.
Yeah. So I bounced off Heroes Hour a couple times. It's like Heroes of Might and Magic, but with like real-time simulation for combat. The tutorial's thick. I gotta just like maybe on Sunday I'll like dedicate like 5 or 6 hours to just actually trying to learn the game. It strikes me as the sort of game that I would really get into if I got through the like knowledge gap. But it's like the tutorial's like you're like 15 minutes almost into the tutorial and you're like, good God. But then you like start a game and you're like 10 minutes in, you're like, oh, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do next. Like,
I like how in the description of it, the very beginning in the first sentence is, Heroes Hour is an accessible yet deep enriched, content-rich strategy role-playing game.
Not. Yeah. Well, I mean, it is in that like anyone can access it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's brutal. But like if you look at the reviews on it, like 90% of the reviews are like, this is too hard.
Well, they're mostly positive, so.
Oh, people like it.
Yeah.
They just also say it's too hard, which is my kind of game, right? Like I'm okay with that. I'm on board. But it's part of the problem is I've been doing interviews and stuff this week. So I kept trying to get into it, and it's like this is taking too much of my time. I'll just go back to Starfield. But I am going to get into it and give it a proper shake. And at some point, I'm going to have to play some Alpha Centauri since I did buy it.
Mm-hmm.
I missed that game. I'm going to play some. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm pretty much done Starfield now. But I've also tried. There was a game that came out not a couple weeks back, or maybe it was last week, called Thunder Ray.
Mm-hmm.
When I first seen it, it instantly reminded me of Super Punch Out, and I loved Super Punch Out on the Super Nintendo back in the day. So it was fairly decent. It was like $25 or something. So I was like, oh, what the hell? I'll give it a go. Looks great graphically, but it just doesn't feel. It doesn't have that same Super Punch Out kind of feel. Like
it looks like it's trying to be it based off of visuals, but
it's just off. So you play as the character Thunder Ray, and he's like an undefeated boxer on Earth, but then he is transported into outer space and is forced to fight in an intergalactic.
So it's Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I guess
give or take.
Yeah. He has to fight against like other aliens and all that stuff, and it's different. It's just not clicking kind of the same way that the Super Punch Out did. So I might just need to spend more time with it, but yeah, it's okay.
Fair enough. I just pulled up a new article that came out sort of as we were doing dinner and stuff. Apparently, Epic has also, in addition to having to lay off a bunch of their people, has just had to pay out. This is a Canadian class action. They had to pay out $2.75 million for loot boxes.
Oh,
so that lawsuit apparently has been
finished,
and it says settlement. So this is an in-court settlement, I'm guessing, is the deal. So Epic apparently lost that. I mean, it may get appealed, although it says they've paid out. So yeah, because it's a settlement, so there's no appeals or anything. So apparently, there you go. If you're Canadian and you've played Fortnite, you might get money.
$2.
Oh, it'll be like 70 cents or something stupid after the lawyers get their 80% cut. So that won't help Epic. I mean, 2.75 million is a drop in the bucket, but still.
Well, apparently it's not, if they just laid off like 830 people.
True. Well, there's that. And maybe that's why they increased the V-Boxes to offset the payout. that bucket. Fine, you're going to make us pay out for loot boxes? We'll make them more expensive, you fucks.
That bucket might have been a thimble.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Oh, man.
So yeah, that's fun. Yeah, what do we got? We got a little bit more time. Yeah.
I started playing a game that I bought a while ago and been wanting to, and just haven't gotten around to doing it. But I started playing a game called Dwarf Romantic, and it's a hex game, and you're just building out the countryside. It's very chill, very relaxing music with it, very cute. It's turn-based strategy city builder type thing. I was going to
say, you said it was a bit like a deck builder?
Yeah, so like you have like a stack of the hexes over on the side, and it's just got random either like a field or a meadow, forest, city, water, and you just are building off of each other to like build an overall little village or countryside. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Maybe I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's just you're just trying to beat your own high score.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I like that. That's fun.
It kind of graphically reminds me of Cat Quest.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, just from the overworld view, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm trying to remember what the other thing I was going to mention was. I totally forget. I'm getting too old for this.
You're getting
so old. You guys are both so old.
Ancient, damn it.
I'm the youngest one.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The other thing was Epic is also selling Bandcamp, which is a studio that they picked up, which I assume is to raise money because they're broke. Yeah, good job, Epic.
Yeah.
I feel it's too bad actually, because Epic is one of the few game studios that has been at least trying over the years. Like they keep trying to do new cool things. Apparently, they just can't manage money. So
Yeah.
to be clear, like I don't think they're in trouble as a company in terms of like I don't see them going bankrupt anytime soon because they make good games and they have good revenue. I think they were just idiots and like way overextended themselves.
Yeah, it sounds like someone's taking the reins and being like trying to steer it to a good place.
I don't think this is the first step towards bankruptcy. I think this is like hey, somebody did some stupid shit.
Yeah,
Let's correct
it's a course correction. Yeah.
So they'll probably be fine, but I did think that was kind of funny. And then EA. So you mentioned actually the FIFA split, and I forgot to mention at the time. They're launching FC24 instead of FIFA. Out. Yeah, it's out.
Yeah,
so it's FIFA without FIFA, which I'm like, is
Sports ball.
Yeah, I'm like, is there a difference between these two games? The answer I assume
it's the license.
Was more specifically, I assume that they won't be able to replicate the exact players and teams. This is my assumption.
Yeah. I think there's some. Because Konami back in the day had the same issue because they had their own soccer series, which a lot of people consider to be better than the EA Sports one, than FIFA. But they could only get certain leagues.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
So I actually don't know. I don't know because I'm obviously I'm not a big soccer.
Yeah, I don't do FIFA. I mean, I know lots of people that play it. I'm sure I could reach out to one of them and they'd tell me all about it, but I don't actually care that much. But I think it's funny that I'm willing to bet that they literally took the game that was going to be FIFA 24 and just like, okay, we'll just remove the uniforms or whatever.
Yeah, reskin some stuff and.
It's like, oh no, you're taking away FIFA. We'll still release the exact same fucking soccer game without your brand.
I don't understand the release of the same sports game yearly.
Yeah, so I know a little bit of why people care.
Okay.
Because, and this is where the problem might exist for EA. I'm going to be offensive towards sports fans for a minute. So if you're a sports fan, plug your ears. Sports fans are a weird breed of people who care way too much about teams and like sports ball individuals. So when somebody new is drafted or whatever, do they call it a draft in soccer?
I don't know, whatever.
Anyways, when there's a new player or a player switches teams or whatever, people actually care about that. And then they have to buy the new game so that that's reflected in the game.
But DLC is a thing.
Oh, yeah, but that would make them less money. I mean, they also do improve the game over time. Like the controls and stuff do get better. The graphics gets better. The
I understand that, but like,
or it gets worse.
Yeah, like with WWE.
Yeah.
Well, no, strictly with sports games, they're like
the trend is towards better. There have been some stumbling blocks, but the trend is to better physics, better simulation, better whatever.
But can it improve that much one year to the next?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah, I mean, absolutely not.
That's yeah. Like so, the players' changes and whatnot, that makes sense to me.
Yeah,
I can understand that. Like that could be DLC, but
Oh, it would make way more sense to be like FIFA 20X and then like a DLC for a few years and then like FIFA 25 or whatever. And
corporate greed and
that would make them less money. And the same thing is true for like, I know at least with FIFA, like they have different sponsors and everything else. So they want to refresh the game to get, that was part of the sponsorship deals and everything else.
Okay, that also makes sense. Still corporate greed.
There are reasons for it, none of which, to my knowledge, have anything to do with the actual game. I mean, I'm sure there will be people who are like, no, you're an idiot. This is like, these are fundamentally important changes and blah, blah, blah. But to my knowledge, based on people that I know that play them, they're like, well, this is just, it's a game, it's an expense that they pay every year. I mean, they usually pay this much for month for cable to watch the games or whatever the fuck. So like whatever, it's to each their
13th
own. That's
one.
great.
Yep.
But it's because sports fans get like super rabid about like supporting specific players and like these are the people that get like physically angry at people because they left the team that they root for. These are weird people.
Yes.
They have weird customs. So the fact that they buy a new sports game every year doesn't, like, that's the least weird thing that they do.
Yeah. But if there is like actual gameplay differences besides just skins and stuff, let us know, because
absolutely,
I'm personally curious.
Yeah, and I always like to be told I'm wrong. So like, tell me that I'm wrong and why.
Yeah, for the most part, it's basically like little system tweaks. So for NHL, because I used to buy the NHL series like every year. So from 92 to 95, they basically looked the same. 96, 97 were different. 98 is when they went 3D. The biggest change I think that the NHL series made, in my opinion, is when they went from using the buttons in the D-pad to like the twin stick, where you were like pressing down to wind up your stick and then pushing up to slap shot with your other. It was all dual analog controls and stuff. I think that was the biggest innovation in that. And it's, again, like physics, they update physics, like how the puck bounces off of the boards and player momentum, like when you're skating and stuff, and that kind of shit.
They improve the AI and the referees, and they improve like the ability to, watch replays, and they improve the announcer AI, and they produce, like, there are tangible changes that I'm sure make it a more exciting experience. And in fairness, the people who tend to play these games play a lot of these games. So like, to the point we were talking about before about like getting your money's worth out of these games, if you're playing 600 hours of FIFA a year, the idea of paying another $80 next year to up, like, who the fuck cares?
Yeah,
that's the
sense.
best purchase you're ever making. So like, as much as I'm like, sports ball people are weird, I get it. I don't,
on a practical sense.
Yeah, I don't get liking a particular team and everything. I don't get that, but like within the context of like sports games, I get it, because it's what they play. I went when I was in university, two of my friends played ungodly amounts of NBA, and like they could tell you all the differences between the NBA games, and they could tell you about the roster changes and all that. And I'm like, I don't get, like, who the fuck cares? But like, they played hundreds of hours of it every year.
Yeah.
So it was a great deal. They could have charged $200 for the game, and it still would have been, like, in terms of like value for money, it still would have been a good investment.
Yeah.
So I think that's it, is like, there are a bunch of little things that add up, and they just play so damned much of it.
Yeah.
I think Battlefield is in a similar.
I was going to say, it sounds like COD 2 and all of those types of games where like
same sort of thing.
As an outsider, there doesn't seem to be much of any changes.
Right.
But someone that is in the thick of it,
when you have a game that you play, it's like, oh, there's a new version, that's awesome. Or maybe you hate it and it's terrible, but like, you notice the changes.
Yeah.
Whereas, when we bounce around to different games, so we're like, oh, there's a new version. Like, is it actually different?
Yeah.
Not really. Okay. I mean, we accuse Starfield of being like Skyrim when it's really not at all.
No.
The difference in
those
games is,
other than when NPCs are sitting down and decide to look up at your character and their neck still does that creepy ass twisty thing.
The exact same motion, yeah. At least nobody got shot in the knee in Starfield. I assume there's an NPC somewhere.
Oh, it sounded like on Jemison somewhere, someone said I wanted to be a spacefarer or something like that. And I was just like, say the rest of it. And then they walked away. And I'm like,
I knew that there would have to be somewhere an NPC that
there has to be someplace.
Somebody got shot in the knee somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
If you know where this NPC is in Starfield, please let us know.
That's right.
Yeah.
And tell me how wrong I am about sports games. I don't begrudge anyone for them. I just don't personally get it. So
I used to play them, and I don't take offense to it, but like I just honestly haven't bothered. So
yeah, I mean, they're fun enough. I just the difference in years are like, whatever.
Yeah.
But thanks for hanging out. I think we're at time.
Sarah, take us home.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us again here on Dice to Pixels. If you enjoyed our chat, like, subscribe, tell how many friends this week?
At least 4.
At least 4?
Yeah, at
Yeah,
least
or
4.
tell 4 friends. And yeah, let us know about sports ball games. Like I said, I'm curious. What else did we want to know about?
Let us know if you are the hacker for Sony.
Oh, yes.
Get in touch.
Yeah. And if you played Cocoon, let me know if it's good. I'm gonna let you know next week if it's good. So
That's
I mean,
right,
whatever.
All right.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Toodles. Have a good week and behave
See you
yourselves.
next week.